Welcome into the Warchant.com report. It is time. Florida State-Miami week is upon us. We'll get set and preview it as we get going here with Ira and Tom and myself. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Of course, Warchant TV, Warchant.com. All the best in the build-up to Florida State-Miami. Speaking of which, fellas, a lot of fun, obviously, to go back down memory lane. If you go over to Warchant.com right now, you can watch that, the memories of Florida State-Miami of yesteryear. It's myself and Gene Williams and Corey Clark, and we kind of surmised that between the three of us, you can go back over 40 years now of watching this rivalry and talking about and attending these games. And, you know, I think I want to look big picture here as we get started. Reminder that on Saturday, you can hear the pregame show, Tallahassee Game Day. It's me and Tom Lang, Saturday morning at 9 a.m. To combat College Game Day. If you're just interested in what they're doing, you can watch us on Warchant TV as we'll preview Florida State-Miami. There's a post-game as well. That's with Gene and Tom. And that's in about 10 minutes after the game ends, you can tune into that on Warchant TV. So like and subscribe, of course, and pay attention to that content. And read all the articles that have been out there this week, and that's on Warchant.com. That includes what I was saying about the memories. This may not feel like it should to a lot of us, Florida State-Miami, because this was, for the longest time, the biggest game in college football. And it wasn't just in the state of Florida. It was really around the country, because what you were watching were two intense rivals going head-to-head with nothing but NFL players littering the field. And, you know, to me a little bit, and I know, Tom, you probably feel this way too, but even Ira, just covering it and watching it over the years, this was always a huge game. This one in the Florida game, of course. And there's a stretch there for about a decade, a little bit more, where national title implications were on the line every time they played. And I don't think that ever truly goes away, not to the two fan bases. You know, for us this weekend as Noles and for Canes that are coming up, this is still a big deal. It does make me miss the days where it was the biggest deal, not just to us, but to the country, because there was a chance somebody was going to win a national championship or lose a national championship on this field on this day.
Yeah, man, I can tell you that the feelings that Noles fans have now about this rivalry is probably similar to what I felt when I was a student, because these games, I mean, they kicked off on Labor Day Monday a couple of times when I was an undergrad, and so it felt bigger than it actually was. But I think everybody kind of had an inkling that those numbers next to the program's names, those rankings were false. But I grew up around it. I grew up around big plays, big moments. One of the clips that you guys showed in the video was the 80-yard touchdown run in '96 for Work Done down in the Orange Bowl. I remember watching that and losing my crap with my family. This is something that it's a rivalry that I think when the players say that they have more respect for each other in this rivalry and there's more chippiness for Florida and Florida State, I think that's accurate, and I think that's how we feel as fans. Even though Miami fans might be the worst Miami fans might be the worst of the lot, this is a rivalry that's built on respect because of accomplishments. And certainly Florida State and Miami share that NFL heritage at the next level the way that Florida cannot.
On that note, real quick, you know, I was thinking back as Tom was just saying that to this summer when we talked to Randy Shannon for the first time, the former Miami head coach and defensive coordinator and great player who now is on the FSU staff as an analyst. And he was saying how it's not as odd as you might think for him to be at Florida State, because he and Odell Higgins, back when they played against each other, they were kind of around the same time. The Miami players would come to Tallahassee and hang out, and the Florida State players would go down to Miami and hang out. Nobody went to Gainesville to hang out. You had a lot of players at FSU from South Florida. They grew up with those kids. They knew those kids. They respected those kids, to Tom's point. And it just was a different. It's always been a different rivalry. There's anger and there's passion, and you'll see that on Saturday, even against two kind of average football teams. But there is that underlying respect, even when, you know, whether it was Dalvin Cook, whether it was Preston Parker, whether it was going back to the all-time greats back in the 80s and 90s.
Well, let's fast forward to the now and get into the game itself. About a month ago, Miami was careening out of control. They looked like a program that was a foregone conclusion to fire their head coach, Manny Diaz. That didn't happen. They made some changes. They continued to fight, to their credit, and enter Tyler Van Dyke. And boy, has he made a difference. This offense has been on fire. Receivers making plays. Jalen Knighton comes in and is able to run the football now after missing the start of the season. And Miami has a pretty potent offense. They still struggle defensively. So, Ira, I'll swing it back to you. Is this team for real? What are we to make of Miami's turnaround here? Is it legit? And also, is it just that the quarterback is disguising the warts of this team?
I think it's more of that, to be honest with you. I mean, I think if you look from a big picture standpoint, and I'm not undercutting that, the importance of that, having a great quarterback can change a lot about a program, and it can cover up a lot of warts. But if talking to Miami fans, getting a feel for people around the program, there's still not a lot of confidence in Manny Diaz. There's still not a lot of confidence in the direction of that program. They love this quarterback, but they're not sure that they've got the right people around him to really take Miami to the next level. We'll see how that plays out. My gut feeling is that things are not still trending in the right direction overall. The two things I'd point to, number one is defense. To me, defense is 95% of defense is about desire and playing together and camaraderie and playing for each other. You have to be selfless to play on defense. Miami's defense has been terrible. They don't play together. They don't play for each other. It looks like a bunch of individuals out there running around. And so I think that's a bad sign. I also think the reaction you're hearing from people around the program, people in South Florida are not real fired up about Manny Diaz, maybe saving his job with Tyler Van Dyke. And you can see it in recruiting. They're still not recruiting really well. This week, Florida State got some really good news. Miami got some really bad news. Earl Little Jr., one of the top cornerbacks in the country, whose father played at Miami, just announced this week. We had a story up on warchant.com and rivals.com that he's down to a Final Three. And Miami's not in that Final Three. Florida State is. I think it's Florida State, Alabama, and I believe LSU. So whether or not Florida State gets Earl Little, we'll see. But the fact that he's eliminated the hometown team and the comments you've heard from Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke, and different people who are have a platform in South Florida, they do not believe in Manny Diaz. So I don't think the program's heading in the right direction. Having said that, though, man, having a great quarterback is a big deal, and that can sometimes turn around at least the belief in the players, which could then lead to belief in Manny Diaz and the staff. So I don't think it's written in stone, but I still don't think they're out of the woods.
Same type question to you, Tom. You did the Third and Lang piece on warchant.com that people can go and read. I would invite you to do so. It's very insightful. And in particular, you're looking at the aggressiveness and the strong arm of Tyler Van Dyke. Same type question to you, is just masking the warts because he's that good, and thus he's buoyed the receivers and the backs and the linemen to play better on offense because they know they got a chance to move the ball.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit more belief out of that group the last few weeks. Like, for example, they did have one performance when they last went on the road to play Pitt, in which they did a good job and they were playing physical defensively to stop the run. But that's the outlier situation here. To me, they have got a couple of dudes, like legit dudes who can make plays. And in this rivalry, it's kind of crazy to say, but there haven't been many of those type guys in the last handful of seasons. So that's unique. But unless, Manny Diaz and that coaching staff completely overhauls their recruiting class over the next month for signing day, the early signing period, and then 3 months for the February signing period, I don't know where the help is coming for the long-term health of the program. For the portion of the Seminole fan base who wants to keep Manny Diaz right where he is, this might be the best news possible in the past 2 months. De'Aaron King, we thought preseason, they go as far as De'Aaron King goes, period. What we found out is the guy who is in waiting, either he doesn't practice well or they don't know what they're looking at on those practice fields. Either way, if he saves Manny Diaz's job, maybe that's better for Florida State in the long term. This weekend excluded. Of course, you want to win this football game, but, the point stands.
We're going to take a look at Miami and Florida State, and we'll go through the offense versus the defense and vice versa. Of course, we'll do that all coming up next. Just a reminder to like and subscribe, Warchant TV, warchant.com, of course, for all the latest content. You'll get notified when we post a new video. We post a lot of them. And I would encourage you, again, as it pertains to game day, tune in to Tallahassee Game Day at 9 a.m. With myself and Tom Wang, as well as the post-game show. And then, of course, you're going to want to hear from Ira and Corey just after the game. They'll do their wrap-up. And, of course, you can read the game articles on warchant.com. Back in a moment here and continue the preview, warchant.com report.
Live and living color and totally free. Subscribe to Warchant TV on YouTube, the digital home of Warchant.com. From the practice field to pregame and the phone calls afterwards, Warchant's YouTube channel is home to live programming like Seminole Headlines, Wake Up Warchant, The Jeff Cameron Show, as well as Trench Talk, a live Q&A with Noles offensive lineman Devontae Love-Taylor. Just search Warchant on YouTube and click or tap the subscribe button. That's it. It's totally free. Warchant TV on YouTube. Just another reason we're the ultimate Seminole sports source.
Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. Before we get going here and taking a look at FSU's offense versus Miami's defense, another reminder, make sure you are subscribed to Warchant TV by clicking on the subscribe button on the bottom right of the video. Click on the bell to be notified of when new videos and live shows are available. We have the Jeff Cameron Show, Wake Up Warchant, Monday through Friday, Seminole Headlines on Tuesdays, Trench Talk with FSU offensive lineman Devontae Love-Taylor on Monday nights, recruiting chats, and the Sunday Smash with myself and Ira, always fun as well. So make sure you do all of that. All right, on to the game itself, 3:30 ESPN. We know that, of course, hopefully many of you will be rocking that stadium. This is always a fun game to go to, and one that I think the Noles could use the help in. Let's start with you, Ira. We look at the matchup here, Florida State's offense against Miami's defense. Jordan Travis returns. You've been at the practices this week as much as you can tell us. How have they looked? Obviously, Miami's really struggled to stop the run for much of the year, in particular running quarterbacks that go back to that North Carolina game. So this could be a big day for Jordan Travis. As always, we know Florida State's offense is heavily reliant on the run game.
Yeah, to be honest with you, Miami hasn't been very good at stopping anything. Their defensive numbers, if you look across the board, are not very good. They're not very good. As you said, they give up against the run about 4 yards a carry. Against the pass, teams are throwing for about 270 yards a game. They're giving up, about 400 yards of offense per game, about 30 points per game. The one area I guess they've been kind of maybe decent is in the red zone. They haven't been great. They haven't been great there. They haven't been great on third down. They also don't generate a lot of turnovers. We all talk about the turnover chain. College football loved the turnover chain there for a little while. They haven't, knock on wood for Florida State, that it doesn't change this week, but they have not created a lot of turnovers this season as well. So it's not a good defense. I really think the opportunity is there for Florida State to have a really successful day, both running and passing, if Jordan Travis can hit the plays. I mean, those plays will be there. Miami has a young secondary. They've got athletes. I mean, that's the thing that's kind of tricky or confusing a little bit when you watch them play. It's not like they don't have athletes. They have talent on that side of the ball. They just don't play well together. They don't always seem very willing to tackle. They're one of the worst tackling teams in the country. Jordan Travis, as you said, did come back this week. He looks totally healthy. The offense, I think, has looked good. Mike Norvell was very complimentary of the offense after Tuesday's practice, and then again on Wednesday's practice. The defense responded a little bit in Wednesday, but really mostly this week, the offense has kind of taken it to the defense, which, when you're watching your own team going 11 on 11, the good news is you feel good about the offense, especially after these last couple of weeks. But on the other side, going up against this offense and this quarterback and this running back and Jalen Knighton and Tyler Van Dyke, you don't love the idea that your defense hasn't looked great this week. But offensively, I think Florida State's got a chance to have a really big day.
Ira, before I move on to Tom and get the Miami offense against the FSU defense, do want to ask, just for update purposes, the best we can. I mean, this is all contingent, obviously, on whether or not this offensive line is healthy. Right. Do we get a sense that this group up front is healthy enough to give them the opportunities to exploit this defense?
Yeah, again, we can't give out too detailed injury information, but I feel like Florida State's offensive line is going to be fine. I don't think that's going to be a concern going into this game. I think Florida State's going to feel good about the offensive line they put out there, and it really. There have been very few games this season where Florida State's had that intact offensive line that they would like to have. But I think there's a chance they're going to have that this Saturday.
That's good news. Miami's offense has been lighting it up. It's the only reason they've been winning games. They win these games narrowly, 33-30 last week against Georgia Tech. Talk about that offense, Tom, against Florida State's defense. Obviously, we're primarily looking at the passing game down the field because they'll take their shots, but they got the running game going with Jalen Knighton now too.
Yeah, again, like I said in the first segment, they've got a couple of dudes, and there is a fearless quarterback at the helm, Tyler Van Dyke. He's, I guess you could call him a redshirt freshman, but it's a COVID freshman. So anyway, it's his first real year of experience, and I watched every throw of his, every play for that offense, really, from the Virginia game on a Friday night, which Miami lost on a short field goal. Go figure, right? From that point until now. And in a lot of the games, if Van Dyke misses a throw down the field, he doesn't care. He'll throw it right down the field again. To a defense and fans of a defense in Florida State that give up some coverage busts, that's a little bit concerning. Jalen Knighton, as a running back, he's raw, but man, his 0 to 60 is absolutely elite. He doesn't necessarily have the agility or the vision of one of the elite running backs in this rivalry over the last 10, 15 years. Most of those backs have been Florida State players. But he's a guy that if he gets the ball in his hands in space, and they do find ways to generate looks for Jalen Knighton, he can make you miss. The receiving core, Rambo's a good player. I think he's a little bit overvalued, but I think the quarterback is making all those receivers look much, much better. Restrepo is a guy they like to go to in key situations. The thing I'd say about this group is that they're raw. If you're led by a freshman quarterback and a freshman running back, then they're going to run themselves into trouble in some circumstances. Jalen Knighton doesn't know how to wait to set things up. So he might run into some traffic along that front four. The quarterback, obviously, Van Dyke, runs into sacks in some certain situations. He doesn't understand the twist game as well. So some things I'm looking for this weekend, and it's the same storyline as Florida State against NC State or Florida State against Clemson. It's how does that front four respond to the challenge? Because they're the ones that can dictate to Miami in certain circumstances to limit that offensive production and explosiveness. But can they do so consistently enough to pick up the defense on the back end? Because the thing about Van Dyke is he's got a fastball. It's 99 miles an hour. He loves it. So if you've got a problem downfield, he's going to expose it much quicker than Devin Leary did, than DJ Uiagalelei did. That's the worry about this weekend, why so many people say that Florida State's offense probably needs to touch into the 30s to have a chance to win the football game.
I do think, thanks, Tom. I do think, and it's interesting you brought this up because when I think of the Miami offense, I go back and look at situations where they don't block it up real well against teams with a pulse on the defensive front four. And Florida State has an advantage, I think a distinct advantage in this game with that front four. I think they can generate pressure. Who knows in a rivalry game like this, if early on they get to Van Dyke, shake him up a little bit, get a couple of hits on him, does he become a little bit more passive? Now, I know he's aggressive, and that's all well and good when you're lighting it up and you have time. Get hit hard a few times. Jermaine Johnson, Keir Thomas, somebody like that gets into your body. All of a sudden, we may see him roll into pressures because we did see him do that last week. He rolled into a couple pressures. That's what young kids do, as you're pointing out. So I think Florida State has an opportunity there. We'll come back. We certainly have to give you our predictions for the game. And you know what? I don't know. I'm kind of hopeful here all of a sudden. The more we vet this, the better I feel. So maybe we'll have some positivity here at the back end on the Warchant.com report. Welcome back to the Warchant.com report. A reminder, as always, like and subscribe. Watch the pregame show, Tallahassee Game Day at 9 a.m. The postgame show about 10 minutes after the game concludes with Tom and Gene on Warchant TV. Read all the great stories from Ira and Corey and others on Warchant.com, of course. And then tune into the Sunday Smash on Sunday evening, where Ira and I will be sipping tequila and celebrating a Florida State victory, perhaps.
And maybe yelling at the fans again. We'll see.
Yeah. I've been known. Sorry about that. All right, let's get to how we see this game playing out. Ira, I start with you. Most people are predicting sort of a high-scoring game. If you're a sporting guy or gal, you've noted this number total is in the 60s. It's at 60.5. Some people feel like that's a low total for these two teams. It is just a field goal, 2.5-point spread. Florida State is an underdog. How do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, I mean, I do expect it to be a high-scoring game. I think both offenses are going to do really well. I think that, for Florida State to win this game, I think a few things have to happen. Number one, an advantage we haven't really talked about yet, I think, but it's understood that this is going to be the best environment, most hostile environment that Tyler Van Dyke has played in front of. This hasn't been a season of sellout crowds at Doak Campbell Stadium, but I do think this is going to be a really good crowd this weekend because it is Miami. And I think it's going to be a loud crowd, and I think that's going to be an issue. He hasn't faced that kind of a crowd yet, especially against a quality defense. So that's going to be a new test for him, and I think Florida State will get an edge there to some degree. I think defensively, Florida State is their defensive. It's all going to come down to the secondary, which isn't a good feeling probably for FSU fans. I do think the defensive line is going to play well. I think they're going to get pressure, but that's a big kid, and as Tom said, he's pretty fearless. So I don't know that he's going to get totally rattled and just start throwing the ball to the other team. What he will do, though, is he'll throw to guys that are covered. He's not afraid to put the ball up there and tell his receivers, I believe in you, go make a play. That's where it's up to the secondary to come through. I mean, it's Jarvis Brownlee, Jarian Jones, Akeem Dent if he's back there, Jamie Robinson for sure. Those guys they've got to win one-on-one battles. They're going to be put in position to make one-on-one plays. They have to do it. And there should be opportunities to maybe pick off some passes. Because, again, Van Dyke's not looking for a lot of separation to throw the ball. He will throw the ball. The last thing, and it really was the first thing Mike Norvell mentioned when he talked about the defense this week, was Jalen Knighton. And to Tom's point, he is raw. He'll turn the ball over. He'll make some mistakes, but he is an electric football player. So I think, those are the keys defensively. And then offensively, I think they can move the ball. It's just sticking with what they do, having confidence, and continuing to put up yards, put up points, and put pressure on Miami to respond. I think there's a recipe, there's a path for Florida State to win this game, and it's not out of the question. But those are some of the things I think they have to do.
Tom, your keys to the game before we get to predictions.
Yeah, I think, a lot of what Ira said is absolutely accurate. To me, well, all of it is, Ira. What am I saying? But, to me,
I'm glad you noted the exception, Tom.
One of the things I'd say, it starts with the secondary. You remember the playback of the UMass game where Jarvis Brownlee has a pick six and he drops it. It's almost like he was stunned that the football was coming to him. I put that in the third and lang piece. You got to be ready for that, because the thing about Tyler Van Dyke, Ira's right. He will throw into coverage. He'll fall in love with a read pre-snap, look at it post-snap, fire it after the snap, and it'll be right into the chest of a defender. But it's coming 100 miles an hour. And the thing about playing defense in that situation, you know this, Jeff, you played in the secondary. Sometimes it shocks you that the ball is coming right to you. That may happen in some instances this weekend. So if you have the opportunity to turn the ball over, guess what? That means Miami can't score on that particular possession. And I think for Florida State, you're trying to play the, shall I say, 3-7 game.
Oh, I like
gets
it.
into scoring territory. On offense, finish your plays. Don't quit on a play. And what I mean by that is for the running backs. Miami will get in position to tackle you,
Right.
but then not actually want to finish the play and tackle you. So recall the play that ended the North Carolina game with Trayshawn Ward. It was just after he got chewed out for going out of bounds. Remember how he finished that run? You're going to have the ability to break off a lot of those against Miami if they play akin to what they've done for much of the season, which is, again, they'll be in the hole. They'll have a chance to make a play. And then if you just want it more, you're going to run right over them. So remember to finish the plays, and I'll bet you there's a lot of yards after contact for Florida State on offense.
Before we give our predictions, let's take a step back and hear how the rest of the staff here at warchant.com sees the game playing out with their predictions.
Here we go. Florida State, Miami, one of the classic rivalries of all time in college football. Teams are not quite what they were 15, 20 years ago, but still, it's going to be fun afternoon in Doak Campbell Stadium when these two rivals take on each other. It should be a very competitive game within 3 points by most lines. It's a tough game to pick. You kind of throw last week out for Florida State. Miami's been on a revival with Van Dyke. The quarterback's been just tearing it up. So to me, that's really the key matchup here. Can Florida State get pressure on Van Dyke? And then how will that secondary play? Because he is going to test them vertically. Now, they've been much better the last few games, but obviously they haven't played a quarterback in a passing system to this extent. Other side of the ball, Miami's given up 30 or more points to every single Power 5 team they played. So I think with a healthy Jordan Travis out there, a healthy offensive line, Florida State should be able to put up some points in this game. But can they keep up with Miami? And that's going to be dictated by the defense. Weird series. Seminoles won 7 in a row and then lost the last 4 in a row. Last couple games have been really ugly. Florida State just didn't show up to play. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. Is it enough to win? It's my pick. Yes, Florida State's going to pull off the upset against the Canes, 34-31, and start a new streak against Miami. The defense is going to show up to some extent. They're going to hold them a little bit in check, maybe create a turnover or two. I think Jordan Travis in the running game goes wild in this game and has a big outing for the Noles. They'll be partying on Tennessee Street come Saturday night.
What's up, sports fans? It's time for your the moment you've all been waiting for, Corey Clark's weekly pick, where I'm always wrong. So this week I'm going to do Florida State fans a favor. I'm going to pick Miami to win, just so I'll be wrong again and you'll be happy. In seriousness, I think it'll be a close game. I've got Miami winning 33-28. I do think it'll be a fourth quarter game. Both these teams play a bunch of close games. Right now, it feels to me like this Miami quarterback just has a little magic in him where he might find a way to win a close game. I'm not saying it's definite for sure, but I think that it's a bad matchup, those receivers and Florida State's DBs. I do think Florida State will be able to move the ball. I think both teams will move the ball. I just see maybe a little bit more big play potential in Miami, and they get a few more points. It could certainly go either way. I hope the home crowd helps Florida State. But right now, as I talk today, I got the Miami winning 33-28.
Well, it'll be the last chance in 2021 for fans to come out and support Florida State here at home. And Florida State, I'm picking Florida State to close out their home slate with a win. I'm picking the Noles to beat Miami 30-20 this Saturday. And you look at this game, it's really a simple blueprint for Florida State to win. You know, they're going to need to pressure Tyler Van Dyke. He's only in his 6th career start. They're going to need to force him to make mistakes, possibly some freshman mistakes. You know, crowd could play a factor. And Florida State's going to have to get the running game going. They've been under 100 yards and under 4 yards per carry the past 2 games. And if they can get that going and maybe pressure Van Dyke, they're going to have a really good shot to win this game. But I'm picking Florida State 30-20.
All right, here's the long and short of it. Miami has the better roster. They've got the better quarterback. But they've got Manuel on the sidelines. Florida State, meanwhile, they've got Magic Mike. Miracle Mike? Mike the Messiah? He's none of those things. However, he's a better coach than Manny. It's in Doak. There's going to be back and forth scoring. There's going to be swings. Managing your emotions is going to be a huge part of winning this game. I think Norvell is better handled and has this team better equipped to deal with those sort of things. So I'm going to pick Florida State 37, Miami 35. Back to the panel.
All right, guys, it's time now. We got to make our predictions. We've laid out a path to victory, I think, and it's offensive. It's Florida State's offense doing enough. But I actually think you guys touched, both of you did, on something that I'm excited about. I think, and I know our fans might recoil or cringe and shudder to think, I think the secondary is about to make some plays, and they're going to get their chance in this game. It's time to grow up, boys. You could be the difference in this game. You could be the reason Florida State steals a victory here, a mild upset, but it would feel like such a signature moment for Mike Norvell and his staff if they are able to get this win. I'm going to pull the trigger, 31-30. In an all-time classic, Florida State wins it 31-30. They get a key turnover in the second half. Somebody does hold on to that pick six and makes that play. The crowd goes nuts, and it's enough to compel Florida State to an upset victory, 31-30. Ira, your shot, buddy.
So here's the thing. Like, a lot of Miami fans are going to be watching this, hate watching this.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to think, man, these are just a bunch of homers picking Florida State every week.
I picked against us 2 weeks in a row.
I was going to say that's not the case. We don't always pick for Florida State, but I'm going for Florida State as well. I don't believe a poor defense goes on the road and wins a game. And so I'm taking Florida State. I think Florida State's going to win this game 34-27. I think it's going to be a lot of offense. I think it's going to be a fun game. I think there's going to be some big hits, some blown tackles. I mean, these are two sloppy football teams. I think you're going to see some of that sloppiness, but I also think you're going to see great passion, the best environment since the Notre Dame game. I like Florida State's chances in this game, 34-27.
I'm getting nervous, Tom. Is it going to be a complete sweep here? Do we have a clean sweep?
Guys, typically I'm the one who brings the heat with a Florida State pick. They don't usually work, but I'm the guy who does that. In this case, I have to go the other way. I can't believe this. I don't know. Just that downfield playmaking ability from Miami scares the heck out of me. And it's what I saw out of Miami when they went on the road to play Pitt was a team that actually looked like a cogent football team on defense that played physically. I know it's the outlier, but this is a group that is developing in confidence as the season's going along.
You also saw the Georgia Tech game, Tom.
I believe that was a look-ahead moment. I believe that was a rest on their laurels moment. I'm not saying the culture's fixed. Don't get me wrong. And Manny Diaz, you hang out there as long as you want. But I do think that this is a group that's growing in confidence week over week. And I just, with all the injury lingering concerns for Florida State, we'll see if they can put 60 minutes together where everybody's on the field and playing at a high level. I got Miami winning this one 31-20. Sorry, guys.
One last reminder before we sign off. Pregame show 9 a.m. to 11. Tallahassee game day on Saturday. Also, postgame show 10 minutes after the game concludes. Tom and Gene there. Me and Ira on Sunday night with the Sunday Smash. Of course, all the great articles on warchant.com. And the College Sportsbook. We preview not only games around the country where I interview guests who cover those teams, but also Tom and I break down the state of Florida. If you didn't see it this week, it's on warchant.com as well as on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the College Sportsbook as well. You get more content there. That's Florida State oriented as well as across the country with the college football landscape there too. So for Ira Schoffel, and almost forgot who I was doing the show with, for Tom Lang, I'm Jeff Cameron. We do a lot of shows, guys. We do a lot of shows.
Do you know that guy? Who is he?
We do a lot of shows. I do a lot of different videos back to back. You know, sometimes you forget. And my cohort, Tom Lang. I'm Jeff Cameron. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Go Noles. We'll talk to you next time.